Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mondays with Mindy. Hi, Mindy.
Hey, Christian. Today's episode features a conversation with actress, journalist, and podcaster Heather Brooker. She's appeared in over 40 films and TV shows, including Grey's Anatomy, The Office, Fresh Off the Boat, and The Mindy Project. Heather is also in the trailblazing role of multimedia entertainment reporter for KNBC here in Los Angeles, where she regularly interviews celebrities and influencers in Hollywood. On her popular podcast, Motherhood in Hollywood, she discusses her two passions, parenting and show business, and has a hilariously tell-it-all-like-it-is personality. In the 5 years since she's created the podcast, of which I've been a guest, Heather has built a community of 1 million followers on her social media and online platforms. This year, she spoke at the Girl Up Leadership Summit alongside Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Meghan Markle about gender equality and equity and body positivity. Most recently, she and her 8-year-old daughter, Channing, shot their first commercial together, and we will be seeing that on air in the coming weeks. Heather will also be covering the Emmy Awards for KNBC in the fall. She lives in Los Angeles with her husband, Chris, Channing, their pet cat, and dog.
Wow, she's got quite an interesting story. I'm excited to talk to her.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to bring to the pod Heather Brooker.
Yay!
Hello,
so
Heather.
Happy to be here. Hi, you guys.
Hi. So happy you joined us. Welcome to Mondays with Mindy.
Yay! Well, I have been binging all of your episodes. I'm obsessed with your show. Like, if I've missed one, I made sure I go back to listen to it. So good.
Thank you.
I'm so honored. Like, I feel like I'm not cool enough to be on your podcast.
Do we really have to start this way, Heather? With
No,
me
we
pepping
don't. We
you
don't.
up?
We don't.
Oh
Yes, please.
God.
Please do. No, but I honestly love it so much.
Created. Oh my God. Well, the adoration is insanely mutual. I love you so much right back, and I'm missing your person. And I wanted to share you with our audience because we talk about this in private. You've created something for yourself out of literally nothing and created a major something, and it continues to bear fruit of different kinds. And I'm so excited to talk about your latest little endeavor, but we'll get to everything. We start each episode off, as you know, with our 5 of 20 questions, and I'm just going to pull it random and see what we've got. Heather, what is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. Well, if I'm just going with the first thing that popped into my mind, it would have to be watching Outlander. Have you watched?
Have I watched?
Yes,
I am all up to date and ready for the next season.
I mean, I have been obsessed with Outlander since the books came out like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I read them voraciously. Like my husband, we would go every week to Barnes and Noble and pick out a new book. And every week I was getting a new book. I just could not wait. And he called them my time travel sex books. And he is not wrong. They are.
Well, yeah.
And now it's my time travel sex show, which he's also not wrong, but it's so good. So that's my guilty pleasure for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and outside of that, what have you been binging on? What's your latest binge?
I'm binging Physical right now on Apple. It's so good. Rose Byrne is so good in this show.
She is.
And I also was watching it, and you'll appreciate this. I was watching it and realized some of the dialogue. I was like, why does this sound so familiar? It's because I auditioned for the series regular when it was called something else. It was called like Olivia when I auditioned for it. And I was like, why do I know every line in this scene? And Chris is like, I know all the other lines because he's my reader. So I was like, oh, I guess I didn't get it.
Yeah, just a little bit. I've had that. Yeah,
it's a very Hollywood moment, though.
It's such a Hollywood moment where you're like, oh, okay.
You and your partner know the dialogue before it's even happening.
Yeah,
yes,
but it's such
the dialogue
a good show.
is really predictable. Yeah. Oh no, I just know it.
I just know it. Yeah, but it's such a good show. I'm watching that. I'm watching Heels too. I want to give a shout out to Heels. On Stars. That is Stephen Amell, who used to be Green Arrow on CW.
Yeah.
And it's such
I tried. Heather,
you
I tried.
You couldn't get into it?
No,
I'm gonna
not for Tanta Mindy.
No. Well, I like that it's an original story, and I like that it has a different take on the world of wrestling. Like, I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but
I'm a huge Alexander Ludwig fan.
Yeah.
However, from Vikings. So
Yeah.
I was trying to give it a try because I like to see everything that he does, but
I know. Give it maybe one more episode, maybe one more episode. But I just like the supporting like a different, like an original show.
Yes.
That's not necessarily superhero based, although I do love superhero stuff.
I hear you.
But those are the two things that pop into my mind that I'm binging lately.
All right.
Okay. Whom do you admire?
Like it just in life or in the entertainment industry, or
whoever comes to your mind right now. Like, I won't hold you to any of these. This is just sort of like, doing a deep dive into you in the moment.
Besides myself, I'm also
you're laughing. I think that's a wonderful answer and very 12-step of you. I know you're not a 12-step, but I am. It's really good.
I really admire comedic women and women who have put themselves out there in comedy. I love Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I just think they're so smart and they're unapologetic about their comedy and their perspective. Mm-hmm. Those are the two ladies that come to mind right away. I've read both of their books. I couldn't wait to read their books when they first came out. Those are the two that come to mind right away. I would love to work with them someday.
Yeah. They're pretty epic.
What's the best advice you've been given and who gave it to you?
I'm going to go. Actually, the first thing that pops into my mind is Risa, our friend Risa from BGB. I met with her last week because I'm having some like frustrations and I'm feeling like just some frustrations in my career. And I was like, I need an outside perspective. I was like, I need an outside perspective. I need somebody who I can just say, here's all my stuff. What do you think? And I told her initially, I said, I'm really nervous to talk to you because I am such a self-starter person. I do everything myself. It's hard for me to ask for help. And she said, just because you ask for help doesn't mean you're helpless.
Right.
And that literally just hit me upside the head, because one of my biggest stumbling blocks is me being stubborn and wanting to do everything myself. And then I'm like,
well, I think it's also, we've talked about it. One of the frustrations you have being an actress is, it's the one area of our lives where going to work is not up to us.
You can control it.
And so if you are used to being in control over aspects of your life, you just can't be. You have to put on your gypsy hat and remind yourself that you are a creative journey person because you've chosen to be an actor, period, full stop. And the business part of it does not allow most of us to create or decide when we're going to get to work.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's a harumph on your controlling, fantastic, maniacal Oz ability to make shit happen.
I know. And it also explains why I'm like, why is this so hard? And it's because, and my husband's like, it's because you're trying to do everything yourself. And I feel like I've learned a lot over the last 10 years. And even honestly, just the last couple of years, I'm not even the same person as many people aren't, I'm sure, that I was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, pre-pandemic, whatever. There's so much has changed in my perspective in my life and how I'm viewing things, but I'm having trouble implementing it. Like, I'm still having a hard time asking for help or like hiring someone. Cause like you said at the beginning, I have a business now that's sort of built around what I do.
Yes.
And I desperately
and it's successful.
Help.
So I think for you, and I think for all of us, it's very challenging to learn how to feel successful without producing something. Right. So it's taken years for me to understand that I am successful, even though I might actually be working and producing a product right now.
That's a total mind thing that I do to myself too. Like, I'll tell Chris, like, oh, I'm not successful. I'm not on a show right now. And he's like, are you kidding? But like, look at your body of work. And I'm like, but I'm not right now.
We have to remind ourselves that unemployment is the natural state for most actors. It is the rarity to be working. And I think sometimes in LA, or New York, we forget that because there's so many other working actors around us.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of things, right? You are, doing quite well, my lady.
Thank you. And comparison is the thief of joy. I have to remind myself of that too. When I start to go, oh my gosh, this girl got this part and this, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I need to find joy and be happy where I am, for sure.
And you're also
100%.
planting seeds. Like you got to plant the seeds now. You don't just get a bounty of, flowers and forest without putting the work in for the seeds. So it's like I always think of, like, for actors, the downtime is introspection, reflection, kind of work, study kind of stuff, because that's what builds the career. So when the door knocks.
Also, as an entertainment reporter, I cannot imagine the fandom, and yet at the same time you're a contemporary, and so I can't imagine the conflict of emotions on some of your premiere gigs or your interviews, where it's like, this is such a tickle to meet a contemporary. I'm interviewing you, so I am actually doing my job and getting paid to do my job. But I want to be where you're sitting. I am
nodding voraciously in agreement with you, although I should verbalize it because I realize this is a podcast. Because everything that you just said is something that I struggle with every day. I look at these actors that I interview as like my fellow actors, because I consider myself to be an actor first. And then, but they don't see me that way. In the moment. It's a different relationship. But I have started recently doing stand-up comedy. And one of the jokes that I like to work into, one of the comments I like to work into it, is how I basically interview people every day who are doing what I want to be doing. They're living my dream. And I have to be like, so how did you get this part? Oh, it was offered to you. That's great. Good for you.
Right.
So that's such a great observation. It is very conflicting, and it doesn't mean I don't find joy in each thing,
right?
But I constantly feel like I'm in a state of being conflicted with my job, with my business, with what I want to do, where my heart really is.
Well, that's someone who's wearing multiple hats. I mean, Christian can attest to this. I have had to stop myself because I noticed in every interview or a conversation we were doing for this podcast, I somehow found a way to ask, I hope we can work together. And it's not appropriate. I mean, it came out organically.
I would totally do that too.
It came out organically, but I realized after we were recording a few in a row, I was like, I have got to stop doing that. I mean, it comes off, it's not gross.
Yeah.
I hope it's not gross. But it came off as like, no, man, this is an episode where you're talking about and asking about them.
The other person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've done over 200 episodes of my podcast, and I would wait till I stopped recording and then say, by the way, I'd love to work with you. Please keep in touch. Let me know if you ever want to get together, whatever. And then that way it's not on tape. It's not on the record.
Right.
But there's a natural instinct too in us as actors to want to be around other actors and network and communicate. And network is such a businessy term for it, but like we want to surround ourselves with other creative types because work begets work. And it feels like lately the only way you can really get work is by knowing somebody who's already working and can get you in,
Yes and no. Cause I have to say, most other actors aren't going to get other actors' jobs.
Not necessarily actors. That's true.
We think that like, oh, if someone's working, they must have, but it really, they're just so thrilled to have the job themselves.
Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. Heather, what scares you?
Well, initially just obvious stuff like horror movies. I can't do horror movies. One of the hardest parts of my job is whenever a new horror film comes out and they're like, we need you to interview so-and-so. And I work for NBC, and NBC Universal is known for their horror movies. So like every month there's some horrible bloody slasher, something that comes out and they're like, we want you to interview the star. And I'm like, do I have to? And they work with Blumhouse now, which is like just violent. And, I try to approach them as, unbiased as I can, but I don't like horror movies. They scare me. That's just like the obvious thing. But the other thing that sort of scares me is just sort of intrinsically the idea of being alone, which is interesting because I'm an only child. And I've been alone with the exception of my, my family and stuff almost all my life. I'm comfortable being alone, but I think being alone when I'm older, as I get older, that's sort of scary to me. I don't know why. I think about that.
So I just have to say, as knowing you as I do, it's so fascinating to me because you've been with Chris a really long time. Mm-hmm. Channing's 8. Mm-hmm. You've not been alone for a really long time.
I know.
So
it's the fear of the future. No, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. Yeah, no, it's the fear of the future. And it's so funny that you asked that. Mindy, are you in my house? Because like literally this morning,
I just know like I'm single and I live alone. So, yes. I mean, the fear is understandable. And I have some bits of that, but it's so funny. Not funny. Interesting.
Yeah.
To hear that coming from you, who literally has not been on her own in decades.
For decades. It's more, I know it sounds insane, but like I told Chris this morning, I said, I had a really bad dream that you died and Channing went off to college and I was left all alone. And he's like, okay, well, good morning, crazy.
Yeah. And that's why we love Chris.
He's like, no more cookies before bedtime. They give you bedtime.
Right.
But that's
a real fear. I'm not poo-pooing it at all.
No, I know. I don't think you are, but it's just something that I'm like, I think it's also something about this town and, I think it's more like you and I've talked about this too, the friendships that I've made that have sort of become very fake and people are somewhat unpredictable.
As you became more and more successful. I mean, let's really spell it out for people. I think it's really important because there is a lot of that in any person's career. Mm-hmm. And I think you find that across the board, that when you attain certain level of success, whether it's fame or financial or any kind of notoriety, right. Or self-fulfillment, people who you thought are really in your corner, the green-eyed monster takes over.
And it's so hard. It's so disheartening because you hope that doesn't happen. And you think like people you've known for 13, 14 years, you've been friends with forever.
Yeah.
Wouldn't feel that way, that they would be happy for your success. They would be there, your ride or die, that sort of thing. And that's why when, you've been on my podcast and we've talked about this as well, is I'm always fascinated with people who have reached that certain level of fame. You've been famous your whole life. How do you know when you're making a relationship with someone, when you're just starting a friendship with someone, if their intentions are genuine, if they're going to be a flake, like maybe you don't know,
No,
like
I don't think you do know.
Yeah.
I don't think you do know. I think you've been disappointed. I have to say something my parents have noted, which actually we had a laugh about, but now that you're talking out loud, I'm having an aha moment about it. I have very successful friends. Like my parents actually note it, like you have very Tony friends, you have friends who do incredibly well. And my feeling is, of course I do. Like, why wouldn't I be around people who are successful? Like, and they are, most of them are much more successful than I am in some aspect. And I think there is something to my success and friendship with that. There's not a competition there. I'm able to be a cheerleader. They may want aspects of what I have, but they already have their own. I don't know. I think there is a horrible, I hate to say this, truth in people seeking out. I don't know. There's something to that. And I think my strongest relationships are with my friends that are much more successful than I am.
That is interesting. It's like maybe a power dynamic, maybe, or like you said, there's no competition that they feel, or that's so interesting. But that's true. I mean, this is a very competitive industry. I have to say, I was listening to your Fortune Feimster episode, and I was talking with my husband about it this morning, and I was like, I was also talking about how I've grown so much and changed so much in the last few years. There are things that I wish that I could go back in time and redo so hard. And one of them is I went through the program at the Groundlings, the comedy, the sketch program, improv program at the Groundlings. Yes, you did. And I was with Fortune. She was in my class. And
oh my word, Heather.
The whole way through, I was told by the teachers there, oh my gosh, you're so funny. Like you're so SNL, like you're so great. I went through the program like almost in like a year and a half, which is somewhat unheard of. And then I got to the final, lesson, and Fortune was in my class, and we were all like really good friends in the class, but it was still like this competitive energy of like, who's going to make it? Like, we wanted to be in the Sunday Company. We wanted to make it on SNL, or, what everyone's goals were. And I didn't make it. I got cut, and I was told by my teacher, she called me. I was one of the last people she called. And she said, I've been dreading this call. She said, because they just didn't feel like you were Groundlings material. And I was like, say what now? And I was so hurt and so like immature, honestly, just to put it out there. I was really immature about the whole situation.
It's disappointment. But that's valid.
But I stopped talking to everyone in my class.
Oh,
that was, gotcha. And I was like, I took it so personally that I was like, how dare, why did they pick Fortune over me? And why did they pick this person over me? And I did not handle, this was also like 10, 13 years ago. This was a long time ago. And I didn't handle it well. And I have serious regrets about that, because every time I see Fortune, I'm like, oh my God, she's doing so well. She was always very nice to me. I handled that really poorly. And,
we've all had those relationships. Don't you think, when we're younger?
Yeah, I think so. No, it's true. And it's true. And I just feel like there's something about this industry that brings out these insecurities, this weird competitive side, that I am now at a place in my life where I don't feel that way anymore. I feel comfortable enough with who I am, with what I'm doing, and what creative substance I'm bringing to whatever project, that I don't feel the need to be that way. But there's a big part of me that wants to go back and be like, I'm really sorry, I was a jerk. Like,
listen, my best friend Tara and I have these conversations all the time, because she and I have been acting about as long. She started acting about 5 or 6 years after me, since I started so young. But we've been friends that long. And she has a mom who's very famous. So she's been around show business her whole life. And we have been friends that long. We talk about it all the time, that it's really hard to be friends with other actors, unless you have that generosity of spirit we have with each other. I mean, obviously we love each other. We've been in each other's lives. We know everything about each other. But I share that with you a lot. We've had these conversations where I'm really excited for you. I want everything that you want. There's nothing that I wouldn't do to help you or cheer for you.
Thank you.
But I think it's person to person. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm always very skeptical when I see a gaggle of lady actresses who say they're friends, because I know
you're
better.
Like, just wait.
Oh no, it's not. I not only know better, I have infiltrated those groups and I see it. They're happy for each other until one does better than the other.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. I absolutely know what you're saying.
It's very precarious up there in those big leagues of those gal groups. I just think looking in from the outside, you're like, wow, what a power group. And it's
Squad
like,
goals.
Hashtag no, don't want that.
Wow. See, and that's so interesting, because you have a perspective that I think is really fascinating, because you have seen over time, over your career, these friendships. Right. I'm doing air quotes. These friendships, who that may or may not be sustainable, and what's really going on behind the scenes. I have told people one of the most fascinating things I've learned for doing my podcast is who really runs this town are publicists. And publicists are the ones that put that image out there for everybody to see. You want to think that, Lady Gaga is, just cool, edgy, whatever. Like, her publicist is there making sure, and she's following along. Like, she is really edgy. That's a bad example. But there's a lot of people who are made and broken by their publicists. Careers have been made, I believe, by publicists. Also,
there are a group of actors / performers that it's necessary for them to do their life in public. Yeah. Period. Full stop.
Sure.
It's not happening if it's not being photographed.
It's that need for attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have found that most creatives, actors that I know that I'm a brethren with, don't need that. This is what we do, not who we are.
Yeah.
And so, you just acknowledge that for what it is, but kind of I tack a little bit.
And I think also that's where it's interesting to me on social media, where that comes in, because some people huge stars, don't have an Instagram, don't have a social media account, and probably don't need one. They're still working actors.
Correct.
They don't have to be online. Like Jennifer Aniston caved in during the pandemic and got an Instagram. She didn't need it. She's still going to, keep working, getting jobs or whatever. But it's just interesting to me how there's such a need for this consuming of everybody's moments, everybody's lives, the highs and lows. And
right.
They
want. You also want to remember that, she has endorsements.
Yeah.
And she has a second season of a show she's producing. Mm-hmm. And so it's not
a vehicle.
The pressure of, yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it was contrived to go.
No,
to finally get
I think she's very smart. Like it's a business move,
very, very strategic. Exactly. Yeah. And hats off. I'm not poo-pooing it. No, but I mean, it was a very strategic move to do it when she did it so that she would indeed be one of those people that, I mean, it was newsworthy. She went on Instagram and instantly had 20 million followers. Well, she wouldn't have had that if she'd done it in the beginning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's a smart publicist who's saying, here's what we're going to do. We're going to plan this. We got a strategy and we're going to make it look like it was off the cuff or whatever. So that's one thing that's been really fascinating to me is how much power publicists have in this town.
Yes. Okay. So before our podcast is over, can our last question? Oh my God.
I just miss talking to you so much. Okay, go.
No, I feel the same way. I'm like, holy hell.
Just chat away.
Who is the most speaking of all the friggin' interviews that you've been doing the last few years, especially, who's the most fascinating person you've met?
Oh, that's so hard. I've literally done hundreds of interviews
and some pretty major filmmakers.
Yeah. So would you say, all right, so there's people that I've met and there's people that I've interviewed. So I would say, I'm going to say quickly 2 answers. One, the most fascinating person that I've met and worked with was Steve Carell. He is as warm and genuine and down to earth and kind and funny as you imagine him to be. I worked with him twice on The Office and got cut out both times. Thank you very much.
Oh, darn it. Sorry.
But it's still, one of the episodes is still re-airing on Peacock. So he was amazing. And then like in terms of like interviews, I was pleasantly surprised by Russell Crowe. As weird as that sounds. You guys, Russell Crowe, I interviewed him last summer for the first time. He had a movie coming out. It was the first one that was going to be in theaters during the pandemic, when the theaters were just slowly starting to open up again. And I was his last interview of the day. He talked to hundreds of press people from all over the world, and he'd probably been asked the same mundane questions over and over again. We're all not that original. And I was his last one, and they were wrapping me up, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so great to talk with you. I have some more questions, but they're wrapping me up. He goes, no, it's okay. You're my last one of the day, and I love redheads, so let's just keep chatting. And I was like, oh, well, in that case, we talked for like another 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
He talked about everything from Gladiator to being in Australia. Like, he was so nice. And I was like, I just feel like I have even a deeper appreciation for him. I know that's so random, but I really that's an interview that stuck out for sure. There's a million more. Christian Bale was amazing. He's a good egg. Oh, he's he's so nice. And he, on the red carpet of his movie, was like direct eye contact with me, really thoughtful answers to my questions. And you would be surprised at how rare that is on the red carpet when you have someone who really takes a moment to look at you, understand the question you're asking him, and
be
give
in the
you a
moment.
thoughtful answer and be in the moment and be in the moment. Like, he was so lovely. And I was like, oh my gosh. So there's been so many interviews of people who I've met that I have admired and respected, who have truly met my expectations. So it would be a very long list.
Who is inspiring you right now, or what is inspiring you right now? I mean, obviously I know Chan does on a daily basis, but
I wasn't even going to say her. No.
Oh, see, I of course am thinking of her.
Oh, you're so sweet. Who is inspiring me on a daily basis? That's
right now.
Yeah.
Like who who has just got you to go
you the
like,
kick in the
okay,
pants? Yeah.
yes. Oh, thanks, Christian. Perfect way to put it. Yes.
Well, I have to bring up Fortune again. I think what she's doing is amazing. I've loved following the trajectory of her career.
Yes.
And I heard her say that she was an entertainment reporter that transitioned to stand up and like comedy.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's literally what I am doing. And so
started
I'm like,
out as a personal assistant.
Yes, I remember she was a personal assistant when we were together at the Groundlings. So I think she's super inspirational. I love that she's also unapologetically herself. That's something I struggle with a lot because I have this Instagram, curated Instagram page.
Of course.
But I try to find the balance between myself and also getting pretty pictures and like great videos and fun moments and stuff like that. So, and also I have to be careful because I work for NBC. So I can't throw out super strong opinions on things because I have to be respectful of my employer. I don't want to lose my job. So it's like,
but also I have to say, and I talked to Lucy Hale about this. I've talked to a few people about it who, haven't on their own monetized their Instagram, but because of their social media following and what they've built. And it's an integral part of her career.
Yeah.
And how she makes money. And she's unapologetic for that, which I like because we were able to talk to her about it. Your Instagram can't be as personal, I'm sure, as you would want it to be because it's part of your business. No?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I find it incredibly accessible. I, of course, love it because I consider myself a friend. I want to know what you're doing and where you guys are going. But I'm very aware of when you are posting your business stuff. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, and I try to find the balance too of not like hitting people over the heads with like ad. Right. And it gets hard because I do have to say no a lot of times because there are brands who are like, we want to send you this. We want to send you this. And it's like, I don't want to, I still want to live my life and like share my life without it. I'm not, a commercial ad agency. I still want to share my life. That's why I started all of this to begin with. So I'm at the point now where I'm being more selective and more choosy with what I share in terms of like ads and stuff like that. And I'm also really finding that I'm enjoying making funny videos and silly videos. Like my background is in sketch comedy and is in improv and all of that stuff. And it's been hard for me to sort of pivot and shift and reconnect and do all of that again. Yes. Because I feel like there is this, as with NBC News comes like a certain gravitas, where you can't be like, Right.
You
can, but they would be like, you okay?
Yeah. Heather, please don't. Yeah.
Heather, please stop it. But then my boss recently empowered me and she said, look, one of the reasons we hired you to be our entertainment reporter is because we love your personality. We want you to be funny. We want you to be you. So that's a balance that I'm working on. I'm trying to find,
now, what about the balance of protecting and allowing Channing to have a childhood and having her be a part of, listen, your podcast and your Instagram and all your social media, Motherhood in Hollywood.
Yep.
Is about Channing and your relationship with her. And I noticed as she's gotten older, you were much more protective of her when she was younger. But now that she's able to sort of like have her own voice, I'm noticing, and obviously with the commercial that's going to be airing soon, there seems to be a real conscious bringing her in more and more. And what is that balance for you to make sure she doesn't it's not too much too fast?
I appreciate you saying that so much and appreciate you recognizing that so much because it's been a very thoughtful process between Chris and I and how much we share with her. I am very cautious of her privacy and have always been because the last thing I would want is for her to, as an adult, go, Mom, why did you show this picture of me in my diaper? Or why did you tell everybody I had this like meltdown?
Or as a teenager.
Or as she becomes a
teenager.
Yeah, exactly. Or as a teenager. Exactly. Kids her age all have cell phones and she doesn't have a cell phone, but they all have cell phones and they all are on Instagram. And I'm like, you're not old enough. But it's been a very thoughtful process for me to make sure that whatever I share about her she understands that we're taking pictures for fun. I
Right.
also take whatever money I get from pictures that she's in. And nobody ever asks me about this, but I always tell people because I feel like it's important that for them to know a portion of the money that I make on any of these ads goes to her. If she's in the ad and if she's taking the picture, that's her money. She may not fully understand it yet and may not realize it till she's older, but that's her money that she's made for helping me with my business. I'm not trying to, just use her for her cuteness. But I recently posted that she had said she wanted to be an actor. Mm-hmm. And for years, everybody always asks us, is she going to be an actor? Are you going to get her entertainment? And I said, I will do that if she says to me that that's what she's interested in. I never wanted to push her into entertainment. I never wanted to make her feel like this was the only path that she had. But I would support her if that's what she said she wanted to do. And earlier this year, she said, I think I want to try like a YouTube channel or acting or something like that. And I said, okay. So we started her off with just an improv class online, a virtual improv class. She loved it, couldn't wait to tell us the jokes, couldn't wait to play the games with us. She loved it. And she was like, I think I want to try acting classes. So I said, okay, we signed her up. And it was like a slow progression of introducing her to not the fame side of it, not the here's what happens on the other end.
No, the actual craft of acting.
I sought out a class that she could go to in person because it's so important to me that she realizes that acting is connecting with another person and that having this community of storytellers around you is what acting and performing is really about. It's not about YouTube fame. It's not about TikTok views. It's about storytelling. And
by the way, there's obviously a place and a career path. And you and I both know those influencers are TikTok. And I mean, I always try and remind people, I have a couple of very dear friends who are reality stars. That is very different than acting. There is fame and fortune to be had there, but it is not acting. It's a very different thing. Yeah.
It's a very different thing.
So I applaud that differentiation that you're making with her and that I asked the question because I already knew the answer, but I'm
so glad though that's what I want people to know is that we're being very thoughtful. I'm not just pimping her out and pushing her into the industry. And if she says she doesn't want to do it, or she decides in the next week she doesn't want to do it, that's fine. There's nothing on the line right now for her, like it's just for fun. I want her to have a positive experience with it.
Well, so far so good, kiddo. And I have to say, you're not only a wonderful podcaster and newscaster and actor and friend, but you're a wonderful mother. I've seen it in action.
Oh, thank you. You're gonna make me cry on your show, Mindy.
Oh my God, no Barbara Walters here.
No Barbara Walters.
Those of you too young for the reference. Yeah. All right. Heather, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been so wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We were so happy to talk to her today. One more time, Heather Brooker. This episode of Mondays with Mindy is brought to you in part by our sponsors, When by Chaz Dean and The Cocktail Party, Love Mary. Chaz Dean redefined the industry with his innovative line of When cleansing conditioners, creating an entirely new way to care for your hair. Today, When encompasses a full array of cruelty-free hair and skincare products for every hair and skin type. Visit chazdean.com or mondayswithmindy.com and start focusing on you while they take care of the rest. Tired of cooking? Love fancy hors d'oeuvres but don't have any idea how to prepare? Look no further. The Cocktail Party Love Mary is here. For 15 years, New York's caterer to the stars and our pal Mary Giuliani has served her deliciously whimsical hors d'oeuvres to the best names in art, fashion, and entertainment. Now she's put them all in an adorable little box to send from her heart to your home. As Mary says, all you have to do is turn on your oven, pour yourself a drink, and enjoy more time with your guests. She'll take care of the rest. Go to marygiuliani.com or mondayswithmindy.com for more information and to order yours today.